hello for selfies. For the Indigenous Art Intensive, we have a really great lineup today, and I want to also acknowledge where we are here in Syilx territories. And I always want to go further and tell and share with you a little bit about the history of Syilx and UBC Okanagan, because there's a foundational agreement with the Syilx Nation, Syilx Nation Alliance, that's very important for UBC Okanagan. And you can find this on UBC Okanagan's website. And it includes the ways that UBC and the Syilx communities have made commitments to one another. And in the Indigenous Art Intensive program, I make commitments that further those commitments. And we always include and work with Syilx artists, scholars, curators, and we've done so for the last several years of our program. And they continue to offer incredibly generous and critical and just really enlightening observations, philosophies, and teachings that are shared with us through the Indigenous Art Intensive. The Indigenous Art Intensive is funded this year by the Indigenous Strategic Initiative Fund with UBC Okanagan, and that funding will continue for another year. But I also always like to let people know that this incredible program and the artists and curators and keynotes and scholars that we have visit is not funded every year. This is an incredibly important and different, unique kind of program, Indigenous-led program, and we need those of you who take in the program to support that through student evaluations, through the public, and so we really just ask your support if you value this program like we do. We also acknowledge the incredible support of Faculty of Creative and Critical Studies who have supported this program for the last 14 years since it started. This program has an important history here. And in fact, many of us have traveled through the program as students and also taught in the program and keynoted or arrived as artists. And so it's a program that continues to deliver a lot of important results. But I want to take a moment also to introduce Dr. Stacey Koosel, who's here with us today, who's curator of UBC Okanagan Gallery. And Stacey will introduce our keynote, Daina here, for today. So Dr. Stacey Koosel is a citizen of the Manitoba Métis Federation, Grand Valley Local. She is the curator of the Indigenous Art Intensive, the coordinator of the Indigenous Art Intensive, as well as the curator of UBC Okanagan Gallery, and an assistant professor at See, because Peter used to be at that department, so thank you. Of visual art in Brandon, Manitoba, which is an incredible Indigenous visual art program. Stacey is passionate about Indigenous contemporary art with a focus on decolonization practices, Indigenous art, and art publishing. So please join me in welcoming Stacey Koosel.
Thank you so much, Tanya. And if we get a acknowledgement of all the work that Tanya Willard has done for the last 4 years. Without her, this program would exist. Without her leading UBC Okanagan Gallery, which is also helps produce the Indigenous Art Intensive, we wouldn't be here today. So before I read Daina's biography, I would like to also acknowledge that Daina wrote the curatorial essay for an exhibition that we have on here right now on campus at the Fina Gallery. The exhibition is by Kevin McKenzie, who's a longtime collaborator of Daina Warren's. As I understand, the art history story is when she was a baby curator and he was a baby artist, they worked together. And so we invited her back to write the curatorial essay for Honky Tonk Chapel, which is the exhibition that's on at the Fina right now. Kevin McKenzie will be here on June 5th, where he will give an artist talk and be at the exhibition opening on June 5th. So once again, if you have a chance to check out the exhibition, Daina's essay is published and on a podium there, and you can read some of Daina's great writing. All right, now I'll read Daina Warren's biography. So, from 2000 to 2002, between her diploma and BFA studies at Emily Carr University, Warren was a curator in residence at Grunt Gallery in Vancouver through Canada Council's assistance to Aboriginal curators for residencies in the visual arts program. This led to a permanent position with Grunt, where she remained as associate curator and administrator until 2008, During the same period, Warren served for 4 years as curatorial assistant and arts administrator with the Live Biennale of, sorry, I'm pronouncing it in Italian, Biennial of Performance Art in Vancouver. In 2010 and 2011, she worked as the Canada Council Aboriginal Curatorial Resident at the National Gallery of Canada in Ontario. There she curated the group show Don't Stop Me Now. Other exhibitions of note include If These Walls Could Talk and contains animal byproducts, created for the Code Screen 2010 Vancouver Olympics project. From 2011 to 2022, she worked as director and curator at Urban Shaman Contemporary Aboriginal Art in Winnipeg, Manitoba. During her time with Urban Shaman, she mentored a half dozen individuals in arts programming development, arts administration, grant writing, installation, and preparatory work. Warren has co-instructed courses with Dr. Jessica Jacobson-Konefal at both the University of Manitoba and the University of Winnipeg. She has served as a grant jury assessor for organizations ranging from Emily Carr University and the City of Vancouver to the Ontario Arts Council, British Columbia Arts Council, and Canada Council for the Arts. She has given curatorial talks and been an invited speaker at institutions across the country, as well as internationally. In 2015, Warren was awarded the Emily Carr Award from Emily Carr University. That same year, she was selected as one of 6 Indigenous women curators as part of Canada Council for the Arts delegation to participate in the International First Nations Curators Exchange in Australia 2015, New Zealand 2016, and Canada 2017. In 2018, she won the Natition. I've been told how to pronounce this and I can't remember. She won the Natition Foundation Award for Curatorial Excellency. In 2020, she participated in the 22nd Biennial of Sydney. NIRIN Nirin on invitation from Australia Council for the Arts visiting International Curators Program. In 2022, Daina received the Manitoba Arts Award of Distinction, which is awarded annually in recognition of the highest level of artistic excellence and contributions to the development of arts in Manitoba. She is currently the Executive Director in Indigenous Initiatives at Emily Carr University of Art and Design and heading the Aboriginal Gathering Place for ECU. So as you can see, Daina Warren is quite a big deal. She's quite an important to me. So let's give her a warm welcome.
That was a bit long-winded. I should have told you guys. I can shorten it a bit. It's all about me. Tansei. My name is Daina Warren. I am from the Montana Cree Nation in Alberta. Musqueam, Central Alberta, Treaty 6. I don't know if I can tell you too much about me personally, but I got a shit ton of slides to get through. And then I'm going to play a little bit of a video at the beginning here. So first I'll do the video and then I'll explain everything after that. So do you mind just putting like a few minutes on? And this is Peter Morin, who's going to be my fabulous assistant today. So let's give a hand for Peter. So you can stop it any time here. Because you can see right up my dress. That was 2008. That was such an amazing performance. As you can tell, it was not me performing. I was merely a model. But I was so fortunate to work with the fabulous Rebecca Belmore. People know who that artist is. Yeah, so I do want to thank this civics people. Sorry, I'm still trying to figure out how to say their name. It's really great to be here, and we can get the lights back up because I gotta look at people. I gotta have to look at you guys in the eye, and it's gonna make you very uncomfortable. So, I'm gonna start. I am from Alberta, and Peter and I have been colleagues for a very long time. We started Emily Carr, so it's an amazing thing that I've come back and start working Emily Carr. It's a whole different Emily Carr from the one we left, but it was such an amazing time. When I think of it, it was only 3 years that we were there together. So much happened. It just felt like I don't know, every day was kind of magic, and there was so much crazy stuff going on at campus all the time. I was majoring in studio program, but I was always hanging out with Peter down in the printmaking studio, so people always saw I was a printmaker. But then eventually I was going to do photography, then I was going to be a painter, and then I was going to be a sculpture artist. And at the very end of our 4th year, Peter and I got the opportunity to curate the student show, which is still going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it Decolonizing
the
Aboriginal First Nations Native Indian?
Yeah, I super loved our title. And then people come up to us after the show is up and they say, that title makes no sense. You didn't decolonize anything. And I'm like, well, obviously you didn't get the title. But it was beautiful, and we had Shirley Bear there and Brenda Crabtree, so I have to give accolades to Brenda Crabtree because filling in from her shoes is crazy. It's just like she's done so much. We had a little tiny broom closet to all meet in. She even actually had to share her office, and so to see the immensity of what she's built on the new Emily Carr, the relatively new Emily Carr campus is a beautiful, incredible space, and it's just like every day I get to work with this incredible view and a really amazing team of people. And Emily Carr is way more open to Indigenous than it was when we were students. It was pretty hard, it was pretty rough. But Shirley was the glue that brought us all together, and then I think Brenda was the one that just, I don't know, kept us going. So,
Kept us going.
yeah, so I'm gonna start. This is one of the first projects I did, and so coming out of Emily Carr, where's Tanya? Can you come up? You might actually have to hold this for me, or do you want to serve Tanya? Okay, maybe that's what, we're still trying to figure out the roles of how this is gonna work, so. So if you want a bit of water, please help yourself. And then pick your poison. Yeah. So and they can help themselves too. So I'm trying to break the fourth wall here. That's what I'm attempting to do. Yeah, so when I was finishing up Emily Carr, I got this amazing moment to be able to take a class that would credit me for volunteering hours at a gallery. And after, I think it was very close to the time Peter and I curated our first show. And so they were so nice. Well, actually, they were pretty hard on us, but but they were eventually nice to us, very, very welcoming in the end. I think everybody ended up at Emily Carr that was native in Vancouver. But Stacey, do you want to come up? And so I got a grant to be able to work with them. Yeah, thank you. Well, I got everybody working here now. And so this is the beginnings of me and Kevin Mackenzie. So as you'll find out, there is a lot of Kevin Mackenzie experiences, and even now on campus there's obviously a Kevin Mackenzie-ness hanging around. And so I was finished my schooling, did my semester with Grant, and at the end of it, they offered me the opportunity to do a residency with them for 1 year. And at the end of it, this is the show I curated. So I was supposed to, my talk's called Curating from the Inside Out, so you're getting the inside view of my curatorial practice. And so we were supposed to do this whole West Coast Carvers show. And I ended up not doing the idea at all. Totally scrapped the idea, didn't even tell Glenn. And in the end, and it was funny because Kevin had applied to Grant and he got denied. But I super loved the work and I was allowed to do my own research and find my own project. And just to think of this, Char, would you care for some tonic? And you probably remember that performance.
Oh yeah.
The day. I'll quickly talk about it if I can remember. And so the whole idea was that I really like the mixing of kind of contemporary popular materials with more traditional organic materials. And so both him, if you go to the next slide. Oh, no, can you go back? One more. Okay, so if you can see those things hanging, they almost look like chief's heads or headdresses. That's Barb Marchand, which I don't know if she's still in this.
Yes, elder city artist.
Oh, cool! That's so good. We actually would love to connect with her again. Would you care for some? And so yeah, so it was really great. I took a chance, and actually the show was a complete success, which was my. You can have water too if you want. So, and so they hired me after that. They let me stay on as kind of an associate curator, installer, administrator, bartender, bathroom cleaner. I did it all. I think you do all the jobs when you're at an artisan center. And so my next big project was working with my colleagues, Peter and Sunny, which was great because then after leaving Emily Carr, we felt like little babies out of our nest and not knowing what we were doing or where we were going. And this one was called Futuristic Regalia. So, oh, that's right, I told her. The memories, yeah. And I think I just got my appendix out too, and I came here to do the show, and I was really hurting. But these guys are so great to work with, and we took it to the island as well. So it was kind of like, I think what I'm trying to get to is that a lot of these projects and working with these people, I've worked with them over and over again, and Rebecca and I were talking, and she goes like, there's a level of trust that you develop with your artists, you know, and they become very good colleagues. So I don't know if all curators work this way. I've been told I'm an emotional curator. Don't know what that means. I don't burst into tears every moment, but I do feel like there's a sensitivity, and I guess now looking back, it's this idea of care, and I've really always been trying to approach my projects as if I'm one of the artists. So I kind of immerse myself, but not try to take away from what they're doing. So thanks, Peter. Yeah, so this is some of the early work from these guys. Sunny I've worked with many times over the years as well. Watched his career develop. So it was really cool seeing how we all kind of burst out of Emily Carr and then went on to other things. And yeah, it was a really good experience. And so some of these projects, this is Charlene Vickers. I'm actually working with her again for a curatorial project I'm putting together for the Libby Lush Gold. So if you're in Vancouver, May 31st, I'm doing my next curatorial project. It will open from 6 to 9. It'll be up from June 1st to the 30th. So but this is the first time I met Charlene, and Charlene came walking into Grant Gallery while I was working one day by myself. And I guess her, one of our instructors, Janice Toulouse, she was really great with us as students, and then she became our colleague after we graduated. But she sent Charlene over and said, come over, like, just go over to Grant and meet Daina and just show her what you got, like, you know, like, talk about it, like, get your work out. So it was really great that Charlene, well, she still is very quiet to this day, but she was very shy, came in, and she kind of had two bodies of work where she did this painting on copper pieces, and then she also had this other side of the sculptural stuff she was doing. So doesn't it feel so good just to be like, hey, come get a piece?
Everybody's smiling.
Oh, good.
Right.
Yeah, of course. And if you can't, does have no, it's a flour, there's a bit of dairy in here, and there's an egg, so you can't eat it, just help yourself to some water if you want. So, and so, yeah, so I really helped her with the idea of trying to figure out the installation. She came up with this beautiful idea of putting them on the chairs, and I've seen this project tour around a lot, and it's such beauty, and I love like looking at it over and over again. So I also feel sometimes when I get to work with an art piece, it's almost like a friend I haven't been able to meet in person yet. So this is a really amazing project with Adrian Stimson and Terrence Houle. And so once again, these are really good friends. They proposed the idea, and of course, we all took it right away. And so Adrian had a residential school that was closing up on his reserve, and so the body, it looks like a little body on the kid's bed frame. It was like something he was able to save from the residential school. They allowed him to come and take some pieces for his work, as well as the window frames. They're actually from the school. And so there's also another side of it. We can go back if you want. Okay, yeah. No, go forward. Sorry, you don't see Terrence's Houle, but in the other side in the corner, there's like this paper mache life-size cast of his daughter sitting at a table, and she's surrounded by dictionaries that says Indian Giver, and they're all highlighted. All these books are open to that page. And so it's a really like intense show. But during the afternoon, sometimes a lot of time I would be actually the only one at the gallery. It's a pretty small gallery, small HR. And so I'd be working upstairs, and I could hear things like falling and banging and bumping around, and I was like, I don't remember hearing anybody come into the gallery. So I'd go running down there a few times, and there's like nobody there, and I'm like, Adrian, Terrence, you guys brought me a haunted exhibition. Oh my god. So I tried telling people, and they're like, alright. So, and then Glenn and I were working alone one day, and it started up again, and it was always like about halfway through the day. It was always like a certain time, and it would only last for a certain while. And so Glenn's like, oh, who's down there? I said, that's the show. And he's like, no. He's like, really? And I'm like, go down and look. I've done this 10 times, 20 times already since the show's went up. And he went down, running down there, and he's like, who's there? Who's there? And of course, nobody was there. And he comes back up, and he's just like, big eyes, like, wow. And I said, yeah, I know, it's very strange. So that's the first and only time I've had a haunted curatorial exhibition, but I'm sure that could happen again at some point. We'll go for it. Yeah, I do want to play this performance, but I think I'm feeling like time element might. Well, let's just watch a tiny bit. You'll get an idea. You can hear me.
We're fast. Yeah, we don't fuck around with it. It's a portage, 2007. Yeah, I have a complaint.
We can stop it. So that was when I was invited to curate for the Live Biennale for the first time. We'll still come up here. If we go back, yeah. If we go back to that project. So that was the first time, maybe not the first time, but it was one of the major projects. It was called, the theme of the Live Biennale Performance Art that year was called Public. So we all went out and did crazy interventions and curated all these amazing projects. And one was that Terence Houle had decided that he was doing these portaging canoes in these cities, and he did in Calgary, Toronto, Ottawa, and Vancouver, of course. I think he may have done it in Winnipeg, I can't quite remember. He did it quite a few times. And so we went from one body water lake, which I think was, what's the name of it, Cole Harbour, and then we went over to, walked all through downtown, and then ended up at the Science World, so we were kind of in that bay. So we went from bay to bay. Hopefully most people know what portaging is. Just kind of taking a canoe from one water body to another water body over a land base. And so I totally did it guerrilla style, didn't get any city permit. I don't always advise people that's the way to go, but we were just like, let's just see how far we can get, and then if we actually make it from water body to water body, that would be incredible. And so 20 minutes into the tour, Terence blew out a moccasin, so we had to stop him by a moccasins in Gastown. And he wore that little tiny brief throughout the whole time, and it was raining, cold, it got sunny near the end, but it was just funny to watch him, and poor Trevor just had shoulder operation on his shoulder, and so yeah, so they were like hoofing it all day long. They were exhausted by the end of the day, but there was one point where we're downtown on South Granville Street, and a police car came up to us, and I'm like, oh, here we go, it's go time, guys. You just keep going, and I'll just blab away and try to divert their attention from you. And so it pulled up as we were going across the street, and I tried to move around to go talk to him, and then he just stood there. He didn't get out of his car, and he just kind of blocked blocked the street for us so we could get across safely. And as soon as we crossed the street, he just zoomed off, and I was like, whoa, I didn't expect that at all. I was like, wow, that's amazing. He totally got it, I guess, whoever the cop was. Yeah, and so we walked around downtown like all day. It was even hard for me, and they were hoofing it. I had to run and keep up with them. But it was such a gorgeous performance, and these are the type of kind of projects I try to work with, which are kind of very immersive, fun, but questioning a lot of Indigenous stuff. So you can go to the next one. So this is VANOC 2010. I got asked to be one of I think 12 curators to do a project, and it had to be all online. It was actually like these computer screens that you had to each screen would be moved to the next piece of art. So I've never really curated two-dimensionally, digitally. Come on down. And you can yell over me, don't worry about it. Okay. I want you to be intrusive. Yeah. Yeah, so this project was great because it really challenged me to think about the work in a way that you could still feel like you were having some sort of sensory experience around it. So I really tried to think tactily, if you could touch those pieces, and what would that feel like. So I really tried to make it more of an experience rather than just looking at something two-dimensionally. You can go to the next one. And so this was a whole project I put together, and I really wanted to do something about animals and kind of pushing against this idea of Indians and animals, and that we just naturally get along. And so I found all these amazing pieces that okay, good. But I feel like we do, but I don't want it to be the stereotypical cliche kind of thing. So I really tried to pick projects that were really cool to look at and consider. And so Marianne Barkow's, her work is fabulous. I love her work. It's also a cheap way to do an exhibition because you don't actually have to ship anything or bring the pieces anywhere. Or get insurance. Yeah, it really was great for that challenge. And you can go to the next one. This was a performance by BGL Collective from Montreal. This is an actual dog of theirs that's been taxidermied. So they would take this taxidermy dog, because they wanted to keep the dog as one of the performers. It was his beloved dog, so he got taxidermied. And they would go out into the public space and like take the dog out everywhere and walk the dog. So they actually are holding it just outside of their car window there. So you can go to the next one. And then Marianne Corliss. The great thing was, like, with this project, I didn't have to worry about native or non-native. I was just choosing projects that really kind of appealed to my idea of the show. So this is Marianne Corliss. She was in Victoria. I'm not sure if she still is now. But she did all these great fur portraits of, like, the Queen, obviously, here, the King now. There's, like, royalty, prime ministers. Like, she just does this incredible stuff. So. And you can go to the next one. And the last there was more pieces in there, but I just tried to pick a few here. This last piece is, this is by Bill Burns. It's a massive project. It's like a huge website, but he makes safety gear for small animals. So this is a bulletproof vest for a rodent. He does construction gear for them. A gas mask. If they're in like any kind of harm's way, they can use these safety gear to protect themselves. You can change it now. So this is the second the second residency I got asked to do for the National Gallery of Canada, and it was such a weird experience to go from small artist center to like our biggest gallery in the country. So I got 1 year or 17 months to hang out, do some research, think about what I wanted to curate. I was allowed to curate a show at the end of it. And my original idea was going to be this whole kind of ephemeral light and spirituality and stuff. And the head director at the time was like, no, sorry, you're going back to the drawing board. There's way too many of those types of shows right now. I was like, okay, just got shot down. I'm going to have to rethink this one. But then I started looking at, you can go to the next slide. Thinking about how I went home to the res, and I just love the idea of like how we just kind of get in cars in the back roads and fill the car up with as many people as possible. It's not the safe amount of people that actually should be in a car, but go around to each other's houses and go and visit people and take kids somewhere. And I just like this idea of this moment of people spending time together in such close proximity, and just the experience of being on a washboard road in the back of your res and hanging out with people you love. So I wanted to think about how artists traverse the land. This incredible project by Stephen Yazzie. So he does drawing and driving on his res. He makes his own go-kart, and he has a little drawing board there so he draws while he's driving, and you can go to the next slide. So these are the drawings, and actually they kind of look like the land when you start seeing what he's painting or what he's been penciling there. And he still does his project everywhere, so, oh cool, thank you, Peter. Next slide. And then he did a big painting of the land as it was whizzing by him. I took a video, I bought a video and also 4 drawings from the project. So I got a chance to also acquisition pieces, which was totally like crazy. Wow, I gotta keep up because I'm running out of time. My bad extent of the talk is done. Makes me like pieces. I had 2 pieces. I had another pan, but it didn't work. So I only got to make one. I'm so sorry, everybody who won't be able to share it. But anyway, so I got to acquisition pieces for the gallery, and I think I acquisitioned about 13 pieces for the National Gallery, and it was so great because the collection was still very low on Indigenous art, and so it was really kind of hard to do because it was like you're up against all these other curators, and you really have to sell the work. You also have to negotiate prices, and of course they always want a deal. It's like I'd rather just them pay what they should be paying, but that's a whole other conversation we can have another day. Next slide. So I finally got one of my pieces where I felt like that kind of was the epitome of like piling everybody on your ATV. It's by Tim Pitzielak, And it's this mom with all her kids. And so I just love that idea of like, that's kind of what I was trying to get to in my idea. Next slide. Another one by him. And I really wanted to think about how, you know, flying communities, like what kind of experience is that you're kind of shut off from the rest of the world, or if you live outside your community, you always have to fly in at this exorbitant price. You know, food, liquids, everything costs so much up north when you have to traverse the land that way. So, next slide. And so that's just an install view of the show. But I was so happy, and once again, there's Ken McKenzie, Sonia Sue. Actually, I got to also put Mauricio in there. He's on the left there. So, okay, you can go to the next slide. So I started working at Urban Shaman in 2011, I think it was. Yeah, 2011. Like, I can't remember. It's all mushing together. So the first slide is hilarious because it's this is Terrence Hool and my lovely assistant here.
Me?
So as you can see, I keep coming back to working with artists. I'm a big purveyor of performance art, but actually I haven't created much lately, so I'll have to get back to that. But anyway, so this is Leg Wrestling by Terrence Hool, and I'm not sure if everybody knows leg wrestling, but it was so much fun. We had built a very small wrestling ring in Urban Shaman. I think that was like more than capacity of what we were supposed to have in a gallery. And I felt so bad for Ace Art because they're right beside us across the hallway, and they had this really beautiful, you know, very quiet and awesome exhibition, but we were screaming and freaking out, and like I'm sure people from 3 blocks over could hear us, and it was just so much fun. And I didn't get in trouble for anything, thank God, because usually we're always in trouble for something with the landlords. So, okay, next slide. This is Skeena Reese. So these are the cool things that, you know, after Emily Carr, when we graduated, you know, we got to work with Tanya at Redwire. You know, that's how I met Skeena and all these other people in Vancouver. And so it's cool to be able to keep running into these artists and performers throughout your career, and just seeing how their practice shifts and change, and the new things they start doing with their immense art skills. So she built this incredible button blanket. It's really intense. Yes, that is a grenade on the back. And then if you go to the next slide, oh, sorry. Anyway, so the whole show was just like this, about this really kind of intense experience, and she had some performances up that she did, and I love the shot of like them hanging out in the hot tub somewhere in West Van with all her friends. And so I really feel like Skeena pushes the buttons. I'm not sure if everybody has seen her work, but I encourage you to check it out. And she's so much fun to work with. You guys just did a performance together just lately, which was really fun to watch. So yeah, next slide. So this project is one of the ones I'm the most proud of for Emily Carr, Urban Shaman. I had to figure out what to do for the 20th anniversary show, and I wanted to do a group exhibition. Hi. And so I really wanted to, I thought about this idea I'd heard that where Urban Shaman has started, like from the point of, like they signed the business papers around this campfire in someone's backyard. There's always tons of campfires in Winnipeg. Everybody has a backyard fire pit. And so they started the incorporation papers, that's what they're called, to get the gallery going. And so I wanted to think about like what do I title it, who's going to be in it, and I really wanted to think about all the artists that really frequent the gallery there, or pick artists who, the pieces that were from really intense parts of their career where they, you know, kind of launched. And so I ended up calling the piece The Fire Throws Sparks, because I was looking at kind of Cree words or other words maybe to use the Indigenous language, but I like the literal term of fire, I forget, Shkode or whatever, the fire throws sparks. I love that idea. So I was thinking like sparks of inspiration and creativity and all this other kind of, oh no, we're getting down. Anyway, so if we just flip through the show, we can take a look at some of the pieces. Once again, Peter's on the show. I think we're not looking at this piece, but this is Rebecca Belmore with the figure kind of in a praying position. And so yeah, I was like really wanted to find these pieces that were incredible pieces that, oh, you guys were saying.
Oh yeah, you just
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful pieces. And you could barely see Peter in the corner there. that was when he did that one where it looked like the ice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a really beautiful piece. You can keep going. Nadia Meyer and Rebecca Belmore. So I chose Rebecca because she's amazing, but she was having a double show back in the day, I think in 2005, with both Urban and Ace Art. And at that same time, I think her show there, she had just come back from Venice. So, and so Rebecca is the first, first Indigenous woman to represent Canada in Venice. And so it was such a monumental time, and she's a very good colleague. And so I really wanted to honor that time because it was such also fun that they had. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so this is the piece she originally did at Ace Art. It says Burning Tower, but it's very beautiful. Okay, you can go forward. How much time have I got here? Am I getting up there? Oh, there's Peter.
Oh.
10 more minutes? Okay, all right. Yeah, so we'll just flip through these ones really quickly. Oh, PRC, Kevin McKenzie, and I think it's very similar to the pieces that are up right now. I love these works that he does with the buffalo skull, and it's not a real buffalo skull, he's very careful about that. It's a resin cast buffalo skull, so he tries to do different configurations, and he loves using neon lighting, as you can tell, like in Honky Tonk Chapel, it like kind of has this ethereal lighting of, it could be anything, a bar, or is it like a church type setting, so. This one's called Sexy Beast. I love it. So some of the other cool exhibitions that happened is, this is Dee Barzi. She was kind of an emerging artist, and if you go to the next slide, she was doing all these wall murals, and usually her work's very tiny, smaller pieces of paintings, but her paintings are incredible. And so I knew she was doing mural work, but she was kind of stressed out by it because it was outside and to paint on walls, she said it was just such a harsh experience. But I was like, well, how about I help you? I'll get people to help paint the gallery for you, and then you can just come in and figure out how you want to set it up, and we'll help fill it in, like we'll fill in the blanks for you. And so she was kind of, I could feel her pulling back a bit, and I was like, but it's okay, like we got lots of hands, there's a lot of people can help. And so, and I was like, and I really want to paint the whole gallery blue, your signature blue, and she was like, oh my god. So right away then she jumped up to the idea and she really loved it. So I think that's the only, probably next slide. But anyway, so I really tried to kind of work with the artists to figure out like what's a good way to get the work up. I try to have them, if they're not totally, like if they have a set idea in their heads of how the art should be hung, you know, like, and I know the space, like I know every inch and cranny of that gallery, like, and where the eye is going to fall, how people are going to enter in the space, you know, so, you know, I try to get them to see how the person's going to experience the space. And so I'm always like, I'm on your side, I'm trying to make the work look as the best way that it possibly can. So, you know, it's okay, like you can come out of your comfort zone a little bit, and then usually like they're always very happy, you know, in the end, usually. But this was really fun, and everybody just, like at the opening, they weren't even near the bar, they just all hung out in the blue space, which I thought was really incredible too, so. Next slide. So we did a bit of international programming. These are when we got to do a partnership with David Friend. He's really cool. It was kind of an exchange of artists, so I have this Peter in the corner with his shirt off. Yeah, that's you. And so we love this title of like, we're thinking like, what if colonization didn't happen the way it went down? And for both Maori Indigenous people in New Zealand and for Canadian Indigenous people. And so we had all these great projects. You can go to the next slide. So it was all these beautiful pieces at Stern Bennett, ice fishing. And I had to send the work over, which was hard to send so much work over with like, you know, without paying like $1 million in a shipping fee. And so everything like crunched down to like a crate, like a small crate, which I was impressed with. And we had such a great show over there. I wish I could have taken the artists. We didn't get our funding to travel everybody, but I tried really hard to, you know, include them as much as I could. But it was great. They loved it over there, and so I should do that again. Another show. Let's do another show. All these projects I want to redo now. Oh, and we go to black. Oh, there we go. That's the end of the show, guys. No, I'm just kidding. We just got a few more things to talk about, and then we'll wrap it up here. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, so it was like this really great. I tried to be as diverse across Canada as possible, and with the artists and the type of works I chose and different themes without making it look like a mishmash of ideas. You can go to the next slide. There we go. Charlene's in front there, and that's Peter's work, and Sunny's on the other side, so as you can tell, once again, there they are. You can go to the next slide. Charlene's work, once again, her beautiful moccasin pieces. Next slide. And then they came back to urban, so this was a really beautiful project with just digital art from Maori artists. So if you go to the next slide, and then the next one. There was this thing where they could do an app on your phone, and you could hold it up to the artwork, and it would have the QR code or something that would in the program that would bring the piece up. And so when you held your phone to it, it would activate the artwork. So I think this one, there's fire that starts to come out of her hand or something like that. So that was such a cool idea. So you can go to the next one. If you held up your phone to these little guys, there was speech bubbles of Maori language, teaching you how to count and kind of, you know, the basics of learning language, color, and things like that. Next slide. More digital prints. Next slide. Oh, that's it, okay. And then, so we got a chance to do a satellite gallery in Santa Fe with our really good colleague, Amber Dawn Barrow. I'm not sure if people know her, but we managed to have a little satellite gallery during market, which is such an incredible time to be down there. And so the first person we showed was Kim Mackenzie. And so he was in middle class, and I phoned him, and so oh, okay, it still is behind me. I just, the TVs keep kicking out, so that's why I'm like, and so once again, he's doing the resin cast pipes, so it's not the traditional object for real, it's just the simulacrum. And so he's there talking with Wes Studi, so I don't know if people know who Wes Studi is, but yeah, that's Wes Studi, which is like, he just hangs out. It's always like, I kind of try not to be too starstruck when he comes around, and he's really nice, he's a really cool guy. But anyway, so him and Kevin are buddies. Yeah, so next slide, and then these are the pieces once again. Resin cast buffalo skulls, and then once I left once I left Urban Shaman, I was in the middle of COVID, and I was just like, not had it, but it was during COVID. I was getting really burnt out from Urban Shaman because I just had like a hamster wheel of just producing projects, and like I'd be putting up one and still having to work on the next 5 after it, and so it was really draining. And after 10.5 years, I'm like, hey, I really need just to shift my focus, shift my energies, and I applied for a lot of jobs. I didn't get anything. I was just kind of freaking out. And I was like, okay, I saw a bunch of jobs pop up on Facebook for the Institute of American Indian Arts, if people know where that is. It's down in Santa Fe. So they accepted me, and so I moved down Santa Fe in like the blink of an eye, like 5 weeks. I got hired and moved down, and I was there for a weekend for a year and a half, and I got to be the program manager for the Artist in Residency program, so I got just to chill and host artists. I didn't have to work unless I wanted to, like on exhibitions. But yeah, mostly just made sure that I took care of the artists while they were down there. So it was such a great kind of total shift in job and view, and obviously a whole other country. But during that time, Amber Dawn had 1 million projects on the go, and so she asked me if I would take over this project. And I got to do an independent project for the University of Denver and the Vicky Byron Gallery. And so this is great because then I had time to slow down and think about what do I want to curate. And I had all these projects I wanted to work with. So this is the idea of me coming to these old friend artworks that I really wanted to see. So that's Rebecca's piece. You can go forward. Yuki Kihara, I love her work. So this is a gorgeous one where she's in an old Victorian dress and she goes to all these museums and kind of talks about colonialism and things. And she has this beautiful song and dance that she does during it as well. You can go to the next one. Nadia Mir. And I wrote about the canoe piece a long time ago. So it was nice that I could kind of revisit some projects that I hadn't seen in a long time too. So it was called Transformative Power, Indigenous Feminisms, I think. And so I really wanted to think about kind of equality of Indigenous women and how it's, even in feminism, it's not quite equal. You know, there's still a hierarchy within feminism, but I really wanted to think about language loss and cultural loss and all these other things that, like, it was a very heavily loaded show of kind of looking at everything, but you can go to the next slide. So I really like these two pieces, Cara Romero. So I got to meet all these amazing American Indigenous artists, and I feel like I have a whole roster of people now that just kind of go across both borders. But since I'm from Alberta, and this whole idea of like, you know, the gas industry, the oil and gas industry is very prevalent in California. And so she did the one on the left there, the gold and oil. That's what the two girls are supposed to look like. And then the other one is the Three Sisters, like corn bean, squash, yeah. But they're in a very kind of like futuristic mode or whatever, so, and you can go to the next one. Theo Kazhan, sorry, I couldn't change the names on this because it was a PDF instead of a PowerPoint, so. So it's great because TJ, or Theo, we met Thurza back when we all went to school, and so just, you know, once again, seeing the development of somebody's career and just like this, you know, change in like gender, you know, and Theo's still amazing, Theo. I really love him. Next slide. Oh, Theo doing a video, stuffing a banana down his pants. You can go to the next slide. Erica Lord, this was an old piece that's been around forever, but I super loved it, and so that's why I was so excited to work with the artwork. And so she's tanning these text pieces. If I tan more, I look more Indian, that kind of thing. Next slide. Dame Danger, if people have seen these works, are really kind of in your face, beautiful pieces. Next slide. And then Rebecca let me print her fringe piece really big, and we put it on the outside of the gallery. So, so it's amazing. Like, even we're working with somebody of that stature, you know, and that idea once again coming in, trusting me with her artwork, and you know, being able to negotiate where her work goes, because she's very particular also how she wants her work represented and talked about. So, next slide. Okay, so this is coming back around to me being allowed to talk about some of the pieces that have been in Rebecca's piece. And so she's always asked me to be in her performance pieces, and I don't ever say no. It's not that I'm trying to get notoriety through her work, but the fact that when she first asked me to do a piece, I was completely petrified. She had to tell me a million times what were the cues and how was it gonna, what I was supposed to do, and I was sweating it hard. And it was so great. When I did this one with her in Denver, I was very calm, and I felt very like in my place, and you know, just followed her around. So I do have a bit of video, so we can just play it even without the sound. You might want to go a few minutes into it because it's just a lot of her working. Maybe when I start coming into the, maybe a bit further in. A bit further. Okay, yeah, anywhere around there, and you can put the sound down. If it's possible. Because we'll just let it play. So you can play while we're talking after too. So yeah, if you can turn the sound down somehow, that'd be great. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of, that was a lot, I know, bombarded you with a ton of ideas and people, but I hope you get a sense of the type of curatorial practice I have and the amazing experiences I've gotten to do through that whole time, because there's so much has happened. I kind of forgot, and I had to go to Grunt to look at all the pieces I even from that time in my life, so it was a lot. But this is really great that she invited me to be in the project with her again, and it was an intensive project. I think it was like 2 hours, like totally endurance. And she was also suffering from a bit of health problems, but you know, she's like, I'm gonna do this, and I'm like, okay, I just don't want you to hurt yourself. So she's got this massive rock she holds up for quite a while. But yeah, it's intense. You're welcome to watch it. We'll let it play, and then we'll move on to the next people. But I'm just going to wrap it up. I hope you guys enjoyed the panic, whoever got to enjoy it. And you can welcome to take the ingredients, because I can't take this home on the plane. So if anybody needs some cheese whiz or some jam or some flour, there's some baking powder here. Please help yourself. I've asked Peter to wrap it up, so he's going to sing us out. But thank you, everybody.
Jimmy Josa, Miyazuka Zata Sa Te Diddly, Te Diddly Sa Te Diddly, Te Diddly Sa Te Diddly, Te Diddly Sa Te Diddly. Hey Jimmy Josa, Miyazuka Zata Sa Te Diddly, Te Diddly Sa Te Diddly, Te Diddly Sa Te
I kind of went away from an arts practice. I did things here and there, but after coming back to Emily Carr, I felt really inspired by making artwork again. So this is like the first drum I've made in forever, and this is the first time it's ever been played, so I really wanted Peter to play it.
But getting back to the questions, so Daina, as an emotional curator, from one emotional curator to another, what are some sort of survival techniques that you use? Like, how much does, it's a bit of a personal question, but as a curator, I think you put like a lot of heart and soul into your projects, into your relationships. Is there some comeback time? Like, is there some sort of like healing that has to happen after projects, or am I just more sensitive than you?
Well, the big ones for sure. Like, I think as I worked on Indian acts, like there was a bunch of, that wasn't my curatorial project, but there's been some massive projects where there always feels like there's a bit of a calm down, which I'm sure Tanya's going to experience after all this programming, intense programming. But it's necessary, you know. I got to realize that it's kind of done and you have to move on. But usually, like when I first started curating, like I don't know where this idea. There was 2 ideas that came to me. One was from it was Tom Hill. One of the curators, he's gone now, but he had given a presentation at Grant Gallery, and he said that if you're ever feeling kind of unsure as a curator, you know, like what you have to focus back on is the artworks and believe in the incredible strength of the artworks because you chose them. So, you know, so you don't have to feel that it's just you taking it on. That you can get behind the ideas and feel, you know, some sort of strength and, you know, autonomy through that. So the other one that came to me was that since it was started as an artist and I tried to approach the artworks from their point of view, like thinking of how to install them, how that would look, you know, I always felt like my job as a curator is to make the artist's job easier. So that's always been kind of my motto in my head when I approach them. So.
Thank you, yeah. We'll open it up to questions from the audience now, so we'll switch this with this. And hello again.
Wow.
Smooth. Okay, so we just have time for 5 minutes, 3 questions. We'll take our first question from Charo.
I showed that video of you as the queen.
Victorious.
Yeah. Did Rebecca do that twice?
Yeah.
Because the video that I showed wasn't so chaotic and.
Yeah, because that's some of the raw video. I couldn't find them. Dan was quickly sent all the videos to me this morning.
Was that the first iteration?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was just the snippets from Alicia's documentation. But there was Victorious, which he neatly edited for us, and then we did it again in Ottawa. So, so that project was crazy because I was assisting her to get the idea, and this is where she's like allows me to talk about this from my perspective. We were talking about the night before she was supposed to perform, and she always goes through this like a million iterations of what it's going to be. So when I left her that night, I knew what the idea was going to be in the morning was not what we were going to end up with. So, and so she's like, okay, we got to get all these newspapers, we got to get this honey, we have to running around town, and I'm like, all right, like yeah. And she's like, okay, so when we got to the site, she's like, and she's like, I want you to dress up. And I'm like, oh no, you're putting me in the performance. She's like, yes, you're gonna be in the performance. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, okay. And so she's like, all you have to do is just sit there. And I'm like, okay. She goes, I'm gonna build you up into Queen Victoria. And I was like, what? Like, that's so nuts. So you saw the lead up to that, of where she had this idea. She was just going from like an old black and white photo of Queen Victorious, and she sculpted me into her, and through newspapers and honey, and I still can't believe that happened. Like, it was so beautiful. So that was the one time I had to sit completely still and not react and try to be like somewhere else in my head in a whole other world or whatever. So then we did it in Ottawa, and this is the time where I was thinking, like, this is probably the high that rock stars get, because there was so many people. We did it for BC Scene at the National Arts Centre, and there was like, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 people at that event, and everybody was very close. But when she went to pour the honey, she told me the first time that when she was going to do it that I was, shut your eyes, like, so the honey could drip over my face. She didn't tell me because she was so caught up in the moment, and she just started pouring it all over my face, and it was like in my eyes, and I was like kind of freaking out, but I was trying not to react at all. And then when she finished, everybody like applauded, but there was like this incredible whoosh of energy that I was like, oh my goodness, this is what rock stars feel like when they're, throwing a concert, and it's a high, like, it's crazy. I was like, we were just doing a performance art piece. I'm like, holy, but, and so when she asked me to do this on it was cold and crazy, but, like, I don't know, she's magical that way. She can come up with these really great visuals and engage people, so.
Thank you. Okay, second question. Question from the audience?
Hi, thank you for the talk. I don't know if this question makes a lot of sense, but as you said, you're like an emotional curator. So it's kind of general as well, but how do you balance like the emotional side where, artworks that you want to see, and also like how do you make sure the art show has like a theme and the audience can like walk out of the gallery, knowing something or like learn something?
Yeah, I mean, I think most exhibitions are artists that they're artworks that I want to work with. So I feel like that even the show I'm about to open in 2 weeks is still kind of like indicative of the process I use, and I've been totally like wanting these to work with Wally Dion's star blankets for so long. They're incredibly gorgeous. And they're very, very delicate, so he's not going to be able to show them very much because they're already starting to disintegrate because of the use, and they're just so too delicate. But so I wanted his first, and then I started building the show around that piece. It's not always how I approach it, but like I feel like there's always kind of an anchor point in the exhibitions, and then I try to figure out like how would they fit together, how are they responding sometimes. Like in the Denver show, I made sure to put Erica and Dan Danger across from each other, so there was that conversation between the two bodies, like the Indigenous bodies. happening. So yeah, there's little ways that, you know, I think about it, but sometimes it's just kind of intuitive. So I know it's probably kind of a lame ass answer, but hopefully that made sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just from a curatorial perspective, sometimes you go in with your heart and you start
Yeah.
curating from your intuition or your gut instinct, and then the intellect part's easy. It comes in afterwards, sort of
Yeah.
thing, the sense making or the. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's that's sort of like the easier part is the.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, one last question for Daina.
Hi, thank you for your talk. I was really interested when you were talking about getting in trouble with the landlords and like, going over capacity and stuff. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about that. Like, how much are you asking for permission and how much are you begging for forgiveness? What do you need?
Yeah, I mean, like that landlord, like we were in such a weird building. But it was the cheapest one we could afford for Urban Shaman at the time, and I mean they're still in there, and I don't know how those poor souls have to deal with that, all the programming all the time. But like it was just like, you know, they were very kind of strict, and being an art gallery, we were trying to push the boundaries, so that's why they probably didn't love us. We were also doing a lot of late night events, so people are leaving kind of half out of the skull at the end of an event, and it's just like, you know, the amount of wear and tear on the building. So we really had to negotiate a lot of times, and I think our most champion moment was when we did Walking with Our Sisters, and the organizers required that we had to smudge the vamps in the morning and smudge them at night, and that's a lot of smudging. Like, and it's very, you know, kind of acrid smoke in the building. So of course our business neighbors and other neighbors thought we were like smoking weed and all this stuff. Like, it just total terrible like way of like looking at Indigenous practice and culture. And so we had these like Indigenous, these elders from Winnipeg. There's like I don't know, have you ever heard of the Grandmother's Circle? They're a really incredible crew, and it's like, yeah, all these elderly grannies that are part of it, and they're all from all over the place, not just Winnipeg. But we had 4 of them that came with us each day in case people had an emotional response and couldn't, you know, just couldn't handle like the idea of like this whole missing and murdered Indigenous women girls thing. And so we smudged with them, but when we were getting the complaints, they were like my backup, like my security. They went around to everybody in the building, and of course everybody backed down once they saw these 4 grannies coming at them and, you know, like explaining what we were doing, and they totally cleared the air around everything. Even when our landlords came down and started screaming and yelling at us, they kind of just very gently went up to them, and you could just see my landlord just kind of back down and be like, okay, this isn't so bad. So I don't know, there's been really great ways that, you know, like I think those are really beautiful moments, and I want to like dang, I just want to have an elder with me everywhere I go, just to help ease the tension sometimes. So
That was
yeah.
a Christy Belcourt show?
Yes, yeah. We were the 4th iteration of that show, so it was really, they had built it up so much by that point. It was pretty big time by the time it came to us. So
But fighting institutions is sort of a curator's job, I
Yeah.
think. Like, I like to think of us as a middleman. There's the artist and there's the institution, and then we're getting the beats from both sides. That's the way I think of curatorial work. I don't know about your experience, how much you've had to fight.
It feels a little easier now that institutions have to indigenize, but this is my current position now, that I have to deal with everything Indigenous on campus. And so, I mean, I have a great team, but there's a lot. But I mean, I'm glad people are way more woke than they were 20 years ago, so it makes my job a lot easier. So.
It's good to hear, and thank you for the great questions. Thank you, Daina, so much
Yeah,
for everything
everybody.
today.
Thank you, Tammy.